Hey, and welcome back to part 2 of Wilderness Edition of Sermon After Sunday. Yesterday, we talked about being patient while we wait on God, learning to trust in Him when our control runs out. But that naturally leads to a deeper question. What happens inside of us while we are waiting? Because the longer we wait, the more pressure we feel, and pressure always reveals something, doesn't it? That's exactly where James goes next. Right after telling us to be patient, he says, do not complain about one another. So don't miss this connection. If patience is what we're called to pursue, complaining is what we need to guard against. Because when we're waiting on God, we can't take our frustration out on Him. It just doesn't disappear. It redirects. It spills out onto the people around us. We get short, we get critical, we lose our edge. And here's the big thing James is driving at. Waiting doesn't just test your patience, it exposes your heart. Complaining isn't just about your situation, it reveals what's going on inside of you. Think of it like pressure on a pipe. When pressure builds, whatever's inside is gonna come out. So if frustration and negativity keep coming out, it's not just your circumstances, it's your heart under pressure. And that's why this matters so much, because if we don't deal with what's happening in us while we wait, we'll start damaging what's happening around us while we wait. Relationships get strained, people feel it, and the waiting season, it gets heavier than it really needs to be. So here's our step for today. Catch the complaint before it comes out, not after, not once it's already been said, but in that moment when you feel frustration rising inside you, pause and ask God, or ask yourself, am I trusting God? Am I trusting you right now? Or am I just reacting? That question creates a turning point, because in that moment you can either feed frustration or you can choose trust. Even if it's simple, a prayer like this: God, thank you that you're still working here in this situation, even when it's not going your way. Now, that kind of shift from reacting to trusting doesn't happen on its own, and which is why James in this passage gives us something else. He gives us the need to rely on examples. Because when your perspective gets shaky, you need reminders of what faith looks like under pressure. He points to the prophets, and then he points to Job. And Job takes it even deeper, because Job didn't just wait, he suffered. And still he said, even if he kills me, I will hope in him. That kind of faith doesn't come easy. It doesn't come from easy seasons of life. It comes from knowing who God is. And that's what the real point is. The story isn't about Job just being faithful. It's about God being faithful. Because in the end, we're reminded the Lord is compassionate and merciful. It's like the Chinese bamboo tree. For years, nothing happens above the surface, but underneath, the roots are still growing. Strength is developing, and then in the right season, it shoots up. Here's the connection. Just because you don't see growth doesn't mean God is not working. Some of you are in that underground season right now. So today, let's keep it simple and clear. Guard your heart, guard your relationships, and remember what God has already proven. Because when you don't understand what He's doing, or when you can trust who He is. And maybe the better question isn't just when will this change, but maybe the better question is, What is God forming in me while I wait? Because waiting isn't a pause in your spiritual life. It's part of it. So hang in there. God's not late. He's not absent. And he's not done. So we'll see you Sunday, this Sunday, when we close out our series on the book of James. From the beautiful Smoky Mountains and Baskin Falls behind me. Pray you guys have a great rest of the week. And I can't wait to worship with you guys on Sunday, Palm Sunday, where we'll take communion.